Hello and welcome to the first edition of World of Strange. And this time we are talking about ghosts and all things that go bump in the night. And joining me here is none other than the gorgeous, incomparable Big Wardle. No, actually, Tammie Baird. How are you?
That's what I know he's going to say one of the guys. I knew it. I love it.
That's good stuff.
Tammie, yeah, how are you?
I am great. I'm great. Hello, everybody.
Hello. Right, we have coming up. What have we got coming up, Tammie? Do you know?
Coming up, we have Christophe, and he's going to tell us some real ghost stories.
Yes, he is. So is Jake. Hi, Jake. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Doing great. And Christophe, welcome.
Hello.
And so we've got a veritable range of stuff coming up. So real ghost stories have been sent in kindly by people. Also, we have one particular haunted place called Prospect Place in Ohio.
Yeah, Jake's going to tell us about that one, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to do a little potted history about the people that have passed away there as well, and apparently still haunting it to this day.
Oh my God. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Still to this day. Yeah. Ghosts don't give up. They don't.
No, that's the relentless, aren't they? Yeah.
Actors in LA.
True.
Yeah. But who's at first, though, Tam? We've got a young man here called Christophe. Well, you know his full name, don't you?
AKA Ike the Spike, yeah.
Yes. Christophe Zajac-Denek is here. And
that's a name. That's
perfect.
Quite a name.
That's better than my mom would say.
I've been practicing. So tell us about ghosts and objects, please, Christophe.
No one ghost is the same as another. Each spirit has the ability to do various tasks depending on the level of strength they have accumulated. Though not common, a ghost might also have the ability to affect you emotionally with things such as unexplained extreme mood swings. An extremely advanced spirit can even manipulate you mentally and challenge the reality that surrounds you.
That's crazy ghost.
That is crazy stuff.
Yeah. That's like some governmental stuff.
Yeah.
It's like when you go into a room and or you think you put something down in there and then you can't find it. You know that thing that happens, and you look everywhere and it's in the most obvious spot again.
Well, that's the next
to be done by some kind of poltergeist. You know.
That's the next one. Shall I read the next one?
Oh yeah, I thought you finished.
No. So a ghost does have the ability to manipulate objects. Spirits have the absolute ability to manipulate inanimate objects. Depending on the strength of the spirit, it is possible for doors to be opened or closed, items to be thrown, items to be moved from one place to another, and even the manipulation of electrical lights. There really is not set limitations to what a spirit can physically manipulate. Get out of here, spirits. I'm done with you.
Yeah.
Hashtag too creepy.
Fines.
I wonder if a spirit
I would like if they were like, I'm here, electrician, they could fix my stuff. I'm like, you could stay.
Tammie, if you see a spike floating around your house, like,
hold on.
Yeah, I definitely would sell up at that point.
Yeah, I'll be like, oh, I'm out of there. I'm like,
yeah, do not. But wait, can it follow you outside though? Like, do ghosts just work inside, or can they come?
That's what I'm curious about, whether they can actually follow you or whether they just have to stay within the house that they habit.
Yeah.
The confines of their energy source.
Isn't it? Like a specific location, as if they're trapped in that kind of...
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be trapped in a moment in time, aren't they, that they keep reliving, like the
basement.
That's what it's most supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the wine cellar.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's would be Tammie Ghost in the wine cellar.
Yeah.
Back again. Like, where's all our wine? I like knock stuff over.
The alcoholic ghost has been drinking.
Every time you walk in there, you can hear the theme tune.
That's amazing.
But there's no speakers in the room or nothing. Just in the dun, 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 dun.
You start hearing the Ghostbusters theme. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
What is this true life ghost story you got for us there, Christophe?
Cool. So my ghost story is from several years ago. My grade 11 in high school. At the start of November, a friend of mine, Matt, was in a horrible car accident. He was on life support in a hospital for 2 weeks before he died. It affected my whole class because Matt was quite well liked. He's a talented drummer and just an all-around super amazing guy. And it was such a sudden, horrible event. I was a wreck. I just couldn't believe that someone I knew and had class with who was the same age as me was dead. It really badly affected me. My sleep, my mood, everything in my life. Now that I look at my calendar, I'm realizing that this happened on the night of November 29th, 2001, which is exactly 16 years ago. Yeah, very spooky. Anyway, that night, November 28th, I felt myself wake up around it was 3 a.m. because I heard someone playing a loud guitar. My bedroom was in the basement at the time, but I remember thinking that my parents were going to wake up and be angry with whoever it was who was playing the guitar, and I honestly thought it was my brother. So I walked out of my room and searched for the source of the sound and eventually came upon two men sitting on this huge steamer trunk that my parents put all our Christmas decorations in. It was in our storage room. They were both playing guitar. One had his head down and his hair in his face, so I couldn't see who it was. But the other guy, I recognized immediately as John Lennon.
Ooh, that's
Yeah,
so
I know,
cool.
crazy. Right?
Ooh, yeah.
So wait. Okay, so hang on. So he stopped playing, and in his very recognizable Liverpool, I can't even say this, Liverpoolian accent, he said, "Don't worry, Lindsay. Matt's going to be okay. We need a drummer for our band anyway." That's when the second man raised his head, and I saw it was George Harrison. Like, come on. The two of them were kind of faded away and then disappeared. I woke up for real this time in my bed. It had all been a dream. I went back to bed and thought nothing more of it. The next morning, however, this is crazy. The next morning, I passed away.
Who did?
You passed away?
Matt? Stop.
Wait.
Oh.
Okay, so the next morning, however, I woke up to the news that George had passed away. I don't know if it was necessarily a spirit visitation or if I had some kind of precog moment in my dream, but either way, I didn't tell anyone about the dream for years. But I remember feeling so much better about Matt, thinking that his situation was okay because he was going to be taken care of, and by a couple of Beatles, no less.
That's rad.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that is nuts. That was awesome.
I told you I got some pretty crazy ones since then.
I want to dream with John.
John Chad, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Can you hear me?
John Chad.
We can hear you, John Chad. We're glad you're here. Sorry, we were in the middle of a story, so we had to keep rolling. But how's things going there?
Oh, well, it's just peachy here in Los Angeles. How are you?
Oh, great. Just glad that we're all here. I didn't think it was ever going to happen.
It did, hooray!
I was filled with fear right up to the 11th hour on this. You know, agents just called at 1 minute to 7. Oh, I got to go. Oh, shit.
That, John.
You know these fellow thespians here, don't you? I think.
I do. Yeah. No. And I know them well, and I'm quite fond of them.
Yes.
What's up, John Chad?
What's up, Christophe?
Morning.
What's up, Jake?
All right, how you doing?
What's up, Tammie?
Hello.
Who's switching? Is that you, Frank, switching between the screens?
No, that does it automatically whenever someone talks.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it is.
You can see that. I can't actually see that. I can just see you.
Yeah, I want to hear two real ghost stories.
Yeah.
John's going to go first.
So John Chad can go first. Yeah.
So this is a story from Gene. Who is Gene, Frank?
Yeah, Gene is a friend of mine who came originally from Liverpool, but now lives in Scotland.
So she's from Liverpool. So this is a true story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because they don't lie. That's where the Beatles are from. So you have to believe it.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Liverpoolian.
Isn't it Liverpudlians?
Liverpudlians. See, John, you know your stuff. Yeah.
Thank you.
Dang.
Can you
I read it wrong.
Turning the town red. Come on, man. I know Liverpool. All right, so here we go. The one I will tell you about seems to be inexplicable, but I have no reason to believe it didn't happen. I guess that's you, Frank, talking in this moment. So here's Jean. One day, my mum was in the house alone, and she walked into the living room from the kitchen. She got a huge shock to see a man standing in the room in front of the window. Almost as soon as she saw him, he simply disappeared. Mum just had time to notice his rather ramshackle appearance and his rough tweed jacket. I sort of wish I'd done it like us from Liverpool. Needless to say, she was in total shock. She checked outside and around the house, but he was nowhere to be found. In the end, she rationalized the whole thing by thinking that it must have been a trick of light. The sun was shining through the trees outside, and it must have been the dappled effect from that, although she knew in her heart it wasn't. Some weeks later, there was a knock at the door. These were the days when laundry used to be collected, and there on the doorstep was a new laundryman, the very same man my mum had seen in her living room. Same appearance, same tweed jacket. My mum, or me mum, felt a bit faint. She hung onto the door frame for support. The man was very concerned for her and asked in his broad Irish brogue, is she all right? I don't have an Irish. I don't know how to speak English.
I was hoping you'd try.
Is she all right? Yeah. Yeah, fuck right. Is she all right? I don't know how to she was.
Get you into the flow.
She said. She said she was, and apologized, saying that he must think her silly, but she thought that she had seen him some weeks before. He explained that this was impossible as he had only just come over from Ireland, the biggest decision he'd ever made in his life, to leave his wife and family to try to find a better life for them in England. I don't know what she was thinking there. Really? Is that much better in England than Ireland? Really? Turned out the day he made this momentous decision was the day my mom saw him in her living room. Same day. Regards, Jean from Liverpool. So there you go.
Wow.
That's a good one. How scary, though, to open your door and be like, oh, my God, I just saw you like a couple days.
Same guy, yeah.
Like, no wonder why she clenched onto the door. I would have. I'd been like, slam.
Very, very strange one, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, couldn't he have been, this was his cover story, right? Because he really had been in her house, like creepily watching her from behind the curtains. And he just made up this whole. He wasn't even Irish, this guy. He made this whole story up because he's a peeping Tom. That's what we call him in America. We know they have them around the world. So what do you guys call them in England? Peeping Toms.
Well, if he's Irish, it'd be a peeping Paddy, wouldn't he?
Oh,
Peeping Paddy.
So this peeping Paddy was just had a thing for Jean's mom, I think, and he was just covering his tracks. I mean, how could there be a second tweed jacket? There could only be. How could there be a tweed jacket? Is what sells it for me.
Yeah.
There's only one in existence. What do
That's
you mean?
Right. How could there be more than one tweed jacket?
Well,
Exactly.
I expect tweed jackets might have been a scarce commodity back then, you see. Yeah.
Oh.
Not many people could afford it.
I mean, a tweed jacket is an English invention. Tweed is certainly, it's English. It might even be Scottish, right? Whereas tweed is English, right?
I don't know.
I think it is. Jake?
I've never thought about
Frank?
it. It occurred to me.
I think it could be. I think it could
English.
be. It could be. I'd have to delve into it. I'm not quite sure.
It's not Irish. They wear like big sweaters over there. So
that's because it's always cold and rainy. Yeah.
And shillelaghs. They have shillelaghs, and they wear little top hats.
Yeah.
What decade are you thinking about here, John? What decade are you going back to?
I like your theories, John. I like it. I like them.
They wear hats like you're wearing, John, at the moment. Yeah.
I know, which is so great. Believe me, when I saw Christophe with his hoodie, I was like, oh, I should have worn my hoodie. And then I realized that you said that none of this video was going to be on anyway, so I didn't get up and get my hoodie.
Well, you know what's hilarious? The two guys from LA are wearing hats, and the guys from overseas, where it's freezing right now, are not.
That's because we're hardcore, John. Hardcore, mate.
You're a sturdy bunch. It's true. You've made it this far in the world, and not just on your good looks. That's for sure.
Well, yeah. Well, thanks very much. Yeah, you're not going to get any brownie points by saying that. But
my mother would call that a backhanded compliment. Right?
Yeah.
I love backhand.
The backhand in a minute.
Yeah, I think it's so funny.
Right, I do believe it's our good friend Jake here with another real ghost story. So
I want to hear Jake's ghost story.
Yeah.
This is a story I do not often tell. I promise, sincerely, that this has scarred me for life. And although I have looked into psychological explanations for what I heard and natural explanations for what occurred, they remain unsatisfactory. When I was a child, I was scared of the dark. I swore to my mother I heard voices in it. They were not evil, but they were not familiar, and so they scared me. It was not uncommon in the middle of the night for me to wake up and hear whispers, as I would call them, when asking my mum. She figured they were just bumps in the night and typical kids' nightmare material. I tried often to explain to her that it was more than that they sounded different from one another the way people's voices do. On some nights, I would get so scared from these whispers that I would sleep in my mum's bed with her. It was an added bonus that the bathroom was directly outside her bedroom door for my late night tinkles. I should add at this point that when walking out into the hall to go to the bathroom, you looked directly down the stairs that would lead to you into my living room on the first floor, as my mum's bedroom was on the second floor. On one such night, around Christmas, I awoke and felt the need to relieve myself. I walked out from the door and distinctly heard the phrase, "Look," and to my astonishment, a red light, almost like a spotlight, was cast upon the wall at the very bottom of the stairs. The light had no other source. It was by itself, and I was transfixed by it. Being a little kid, and it only being a few days from Christmas, I knew what this light was. It was Santa! How else did he get into my house to know I was being a good boy? I was so excited, I began walking down the stairs to greet him, picking up my pace after the second step as it began to creep off the wall and fade into the darkness of my living room.
Uh-oh.
That's when I heard him. A very strong, masculine voice, different from the first. Not at all like my father's. Not to say he isn't masculine, it was just distinctly different. It said, "Stop, right now. Go back up those stairs." I listened, turned around, and what happened next, I'm not sure I would believe if someone had told me this same story. After reaching the top of the stairs, I heard a very loud crash that sent me running back to my mother's bed, where I jumped straight under the covers and stayed under there the whole night. When we awoke the next morning, the poinsettia lights, little Christmas flower lights that glowed red, my mother had put on the railing down the stairs, were pulled straight down to the bottom of the stairs, some broken from what seemed like a forceful tear, laying in a single pile. The dry sink in my living room had fallen from the wall. My mother could not explain it. My father was worried we had been the victims of a home invasion. My sister was crying. There was nothing missing. Nobody had broken in. There did not seem to be any reason this had happened. And then I saw it, and I kept quiet about it because I was so afraid that I could not force words out of my mouth. There, On the edge of the wooden dry sink, which had been facing up, were 3 indentations where the finish on the wood had been worn, almost as if in a forceful grip. Something down there had grabbed it and threw it down. That was what the bang was. I was mortified. After that day, I never heard a single voice again. I do not like to imagine what was waiting downstairs for me that night, if it was anything at all. But I can tell you that the reality was that something had physically acted upon 2 things in my house near the bottom of that stairwell. After this, I had never heard another whisper again, which is sad because in some ways I would like to have thanked the man, masculine energy, that had stopped me from going down those stairs. This happened when I was 7. I am 20 years old now, and because of this incident, I am still afraid of the dark, especially shadowy stairwells.
Ooh, that one gave me chills.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Yes, indeed.
So creepy.
Yeah.
I like that it happened at Christmas time. I feel like there's something kind of spooky about the dark mystery at Christmas time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Christmas,
Christmas is always a good time to tell ghost stories anyway.
That and I feel like there's also kind of unique energy in houses and relationships and stuff like that. So it's I don't know. That's cool.
Dawn?
I think that masculine voice that was probably wearing a tweed jacket. Is my
the other story,
just moving from house to house.
Who gets around that further?
Oh my God. That's why it was all
everywhere, don't they? I'm a quarter Irish.
Yeah, that's the luck of the Irish. Yeah.
Oh, that was great.
One week in England, my ass, you peeping patty.
Oh dear God, where are we? I've completely lost my mind. Where I am here.
So the indentations were on the counter, like squeezed into the. I didn't get where the indentations were.
Hang
on the grip.
Find that bit.
They were deep embedded into the counter where the thing had been thrown down onto it. I think
it was some kind of a dry sink in my living room.
Yeah.
So the what's it called? Not poinsettias. What's the greenery that was on the railing that was pulled down?
The lights.
The light.
The light. So those are pulled down all the way down at the bottom.
Yeah.
And then what did the counter have to do relative to the railing?
No, because then it says the dry sink in my living room had fallen from the wall. So it was whatever was holding that up.
Gotcha. A dry sink.
There on the edge of the wooden dry sink, which had been facing up. Sorry, it was on the edge of the wooden dry sink, which had been facing up, were 3 indentations where the finish on the wood had been worn almost as if in a forceful grip. So it says something down there had grabbed it and threw it down.
What causes 3 indentations?
E.T.
There you go.
Right.
Right there.
Home, baby.
Right there.
E.T. phone home invasion.
Christ almighty. Right.
I love it. Let's see. So we have history of Prospect Place. Do you want to get into that?
Yeah.
About that, I'm very curious.
So I have the Prospect Place in Ohio, the barn, the basement, and the unsettled spirit. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
It is said that at one point in history, a bounty hunter for slaves arrived at Prospect Place. This individual demanded that the ever-popular G.W. Adams release all of the slaves that he possessed. This individual, speaking to Adams, intended to do the slaves harm. G.W. Adams was not going for that. Oh, no. He quickly pulled out a weapon and pursued in a fight with the man. Eventually, numerous slaves came to assist Adams with their own weapons. It was then that the stranger left. It is rumored that the slaves pursued him and then murdered him in the barn. It is also believed to this day that the evil, angry spirit of the bounty hunter remains in that barn. Many have felt an evil presence, fear, and even like someone or something are and or is touching them. Ooh. Hashtag me too.
The buzz happened right at the time you said touching them. Buzz. Well, that's probably my. Oh, wow. So you can hear that.
That's confirmation there, yeah.
So what an interesting thing. Well, interesting that G.W. Adams. We have to have a good guy and a bad guy in the story, but let's not forget this guy was a slave owner. Exactly. He owned the slaves.
Well,
for God's sakes, G.W. Adams. But he was a nice slave owner. He was that kind of a slave owner that you'd have over for tea and shoot the shit a little bit, and he remembered you around Christmas time. He'd send over a little bundt cake or something. He wasn't one of those bad slave owners. He was a nice slave owner, and the bounty hunter was a bad bounty hunter.
Right, he was bad.
He was bad. What if this guy was just trying to release these slaves from the grips of a slave owner? I'm not one to rewrite history, but isn't that what's happening here? Anyway, so that's the barn.
Didn't it say the bounty hunter had sinister intentions for them?
Yeah, like how do we know? How do we know he had sinister intentions? Can we really know a man's heart? How do we know that he had good intent? And then G.W. Adams, the slave owner, that's a fact, had bad intentions or had good intentions somehow. But we know these things. Is that what you're saying, Jake?
So the bounty
you're sticking up for the for I don't know what you said, Jake. I was talking.
Both bad.
Please continue, John.
Why would the slaves be so readily willing to murder the bounty hunter if he was trying to save them?
Oh.
Well. Maybe they were going to kill both of them. Maybe they were going to take that bounty hunter out and then take out G.W. Adams and then have a big old party,
That would have been a happy ending.
And have it be exactly dance in a circle, kumbaya. Story ends well. Slavery is over. End of racism. Boom. There it is.
See, it didn't work then.
Slavery killing just those two people.
Yeah. See, if only they hadn't stopped with the bounty hunter and they had continued with G.W. Adams, we would have a very different world today.
If we had a time machine now, we could have thwarted all that happening.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why the bounty hunter's spirit is pissed off.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, hey, okay, all right, so I had bad intentions. Cut me some slack. This guy owned them.
Exactly.
Dude, that bounty hunter is bad even in the afterlife. He's bad. He got murdered, and now he's like, I'm a ghost, and I'm going to still be bad and haunt this barn. Ah! I have no
That's a good point, Tammie. That's a very good point. So why is it that a person they die, they're a bad person, and they die? Why do they have to stay bad? It seems like you kind of paid your debt there by dying. Maybe you get a new start or something,
He can't shake it off. He's like, no, there was more bounties to get.
It's so important to me. I'm going to continue in the afterlife with my bad ways.
I signed a contract till death.
That's right.
I don't know.
Till death and beyond. All right. Well, next we have in Prospect Place, Ohio, the lady in the basement. During the time of the Underground Railroad, many slaves who were in search of freedom stayed in the basement of Prospect Place. It seems that one of the slaves experienced an injury to the head area, on her way here. Naturally, everyone who resided in the home tried to nurse her back to health, but she passed away. Now it is said that she still resides in the basement area. She is actually considered to be quite friendly. She's it seems to overlook and protect the home. Many who have had supernatural experiences in this particular spirit, with this particular spirit, have said that she almost seems like a happy spirit. So so she needs to work on the bounty hunter. Like, I think that this spirit needs to have the bounty hunter over for some tea, as we talked about, sit him down, say, look, what's going on, bounty hunter? Why so angry? Come on. Let it go. You're dead now. Let it go.
Have a good spirit for once.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Make peace with one another. Yeah.
I think maybe, yeah. Yeah, she's a happy spirit. She will give you a hug. It's cold and chilly, this hug, and almost creepy and gives you goosebumps, but it is a happy hug.
Best intention.
All right. Who wants to hear about the unsettled spirit of William Cox?
Yes, please.
I will.
All right. All right. William Cox married the first daughter of G.W. Adams, the happy slave owner.
Oh, yeah.
The daughter's name was Anna, and he came from a family with a lot of wealth and finer luxuries. Once Prospect Place was left to him and his wife, he renovated the lot of the building. Eventually, he boarded a train to visit another city for business. He and another man checked into a hotel and then left the following morning. To this day, he has not been found. Many believe that seeing that he left Anna with so many hardships to endure, once he was gone, that his spirit roams the house trying to find a way to apologize and request forgiveness. It's a good theory.
Yeah.
And he came from a family. So Cox married, Cox married the first daughter of Adams. So Anna and Cox got Adams's house, I'm guessing, right?
Yes.
So it must be the same house.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Prospect Place, right? So we're talking about this one place.
Yeah.
Has the basement where the Underground Railroad, happened, and has a barn where the slaves killed the dude and killed the bounty hunter. I think this is all one place.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a hot spot. It is a supernatural poltergeist hot spot.
Yeah.
Lots of action down through the years happening here at Prospect Place.
Absolutely. And Jake, you have one of those stories, don't you?
Yes.
That was sent in of a real experience that happened in Prospect Place.
In July of 2012, my wife, brother, and I spent the night at Prospect Place Mansion near Trinway, Ohio. The owner had us sign our agreements, watch a video, then handed us the keys and went off to his place. As of that moment, we were the only 3 people in the house. We began to set up in a room we were designated as our base on the first floor. My wife Gina excused herself to use the restroom, which was across the hall in another room. As my brother and I were unpacking our equipment and making sure all the batteries were freshly charged, we heard footsteps coming from the room directly above us. You could hear the heel-to-toe action of each step clear as day, and the impression of the wood on the floor beneath them. We immediately grabbed what gear we had available and rushed to the second floor, and found nothing or no one who could have caused a disturbance. My wife joined us upstairs shortly afterward, rather annoyed by the fact we left her behind in the first floor bathroom. It was a very interesting night of anomalous EMF readings and battery drains aplenty, but that incident still remains clear as day in my memory. In my opinion, the reason we had that much activity was that a massive thunderstorm swept through that area earlier in the day, effectively charging the place up.
And that was sent in by Brian Beres from Ohio.
Sorry to laugh in the middle of it, but stuff like that always happens to me. Like something happens and I go in the bathroom. I'm like, where'd everybody go? I'm like, oh, we ran out of there. Something. I'm like, really? And you guys just left me? like
thanks for that. Yeah,
you're in there. You're safe.
Place that is supposedly haunted.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Jake. I was thinking maybe the bathroom was the safest place for him.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Who knows?
I don't think anywhere would be very safe in there, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
Well, you know,
sorry.
At night time, it's heightens the creepiness.
You know, what do you mean by that, Frank? And then nowhere would be safe. What are you saying?
Well, if it's, I'm only going by the fact that if it's allegedly as haunted as people have said, and it's got a history of it, and they've done lots of vigils in there and stuff and had experiences, I would think that leaving a woman on her own in there wouldn't have been that great.
But you know, I have this discussion with my daughter. My daughter is very afraid of the dark. She's 15 now, but she's always been afraid of the dark. She's very afraid of like spirits and ghosts, and these are things that you know, that you know have sort of I don't know, haunted or whatever. It's a fear that she has. And what I'm not going to fix this fear for her, but the question that I always have for her is, first of all, like, why do these spirits, why would they necessarily mean you harm? You know, I mean, we had our nice spirit in there, right? We had the happy spirit, you know, the Underground Railroad woman, right? And so first of all, I'm just saying, like, until something happens, like this sort of vague, like, oh, I'm afraid of the thing that might happen. So that thing that might happen, until it happens, why not assume that it's going to be good? Yeah. You know, why not assume that the spirit means you either means you nothing or means you good, right? Like, you know, why would it necessarily be bad?
From causing you harm, how would it benefit from that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like what is going on? You know, and furthermore, like, how many instances do we know about where, I mean, even if the ghosts are you know, what little experience I have with it. I mean, I had I woke up when I was a kid once, and my leg was like levitating in the air, right? And you know, it was a little unsettling.
It dismembered itself.
Huh?
You mean it dismembered itself and flew up? No.
It just levitated. It just like lifted up. It's like something. Yeah, like they were. The afterlife, they need body parts to exist, and they go around collecting them one by one. So when you see a guy walking across the street with crutches, might be diabetes, might have been a poltergeist. But this is the closest thing, you know, of whatever. And constantly there's sort of the feeling that, you know, we all have it, the feeling that there's something else there, right? So I have those same feelings, but never have I felt like, oh, this even when my leg was levitating in the air, I didn't feel like I was in danger. I mean, what danger could I, you know, unless it could levitate me in the air and swing me around the room, I guess, and hit me against the wall or something. But like this doesn't seem to be what happens. It seems to be, the story always seems to be, oh, I saw something out of the corner of my eye, or something passed through me, or whatever it is. I don't see I don't see why we're all so afraid of this other dimension. You know, I mean, we might be that dimension to them, you know? I mean, so it's sort of like, and some of us, I guess, some of us are malevolent, and, you know, but we're kind of powerless over this other dimension. So why would it have power over us?
So we could be freaking them out as well. Yeah. That's
right. That's exactly right. Anyway, I hope I've made a difference today.
Thank you very much, John, for that. You've illuminated my life. I hope
if just one child can sleep better because of it.
How old were you when your leg lifted? How old were you?
Well, I was still living at home, so I mean, I was a teenager. You know, maybe I'm trying to like picture even where that was. You know what? I don't even think I was home. I think I was at someone else's house because in my memory it's not my bed. So somewhere in high school, I think.
On and lift you.
Say again, Jake?
Did this someone have an invisibility cloak on and creep in? And
I think that's a much more scientific probability there that it was an invisibility cloak.
But what I
think now that. No, but I mean, you know, I mean, obviously, a doubt. You know, I don't believe or disbelieve. You know, I'm not a believer or a disbeliever. I don't know. I'm agnostic in that, as I am with basically everything. I don't I have the feeling that I know the smallest fraction of what there is to know, if anything at all. And so why wouldn't that also include the supernatural? It does. So I don't claim to know anything about these things. So I'm not a disbeliever.
Yeah, these occurrences are just, they're probably some kind of unexplained science.
Yeah, that's possible. That's just what I was going to say, Jake.
Science books in 200 years, maybe.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Wi-Fi to someone from the medieval times, it would be like a magic, mystical force.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true.
Well, that's funny that you say that, Jake, because I was just having that thought. I am still completely in awe that that this phone call is happening. First of all, like, how is it possible? Forget medieval times. Try explaining this to somebody, 50 years ago, right? I mean,
exactly,
but to your point, I mean, could it have been some kind of contraction of my muscles that kind of lifted my leg up into the air? And, furthermore, could it be that it was a waking dream? Because I tell you, I have dreams where I wake up. I've had a dream where I wake up twice. Like I'm having a dream, I wake up and I go, wow, that was weird. And then I wake up again. So if my mind is it's possible for my mind to create that, why couldn't it create my leg lifting in the air?
Mind is more.
So I love all of it, but what I really love is that it happened at somebody else's house, not your own home. Because I'd like to know, with that person whose house you were sleeping over, had they ever had some weird experiences? Because you were not at your house when this happened. Like for me, I'm like, ooh, I want to know more. I want to know if whoever's home you were sleeping at, if they had any experiences.
Well, I'll tell you, at my home, my mom's home, which is probably 250 years old at this point. It's on a stone foundation and it has a barn and a street. It's in Vermont. It's a very, very old house. My little sister, who slept upstairs, she was the only upstairs resident at our house, is convinced to this day that there were spirits in that room, and she is unrelenting. It's factual to her. So.
Awesome. I love all this stuff. I love it. I have a ghost story. Do you guys want to hear about it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? All right. So, this is the first. Oh, I'll just read it. Okay. Well, this ghost story is a little unusual, so bear with me on this. Basically, I worked with a man called Scott about 3 years ago. Tragically, he made the decision to take his own life, which was quite unsettling. I was the one who took the call from the police that morning to say they were concerned about his whereabouts and well-being. And sadly enough, he was found, and that was that. After his funeral, we had a lady start working with us who had been an acquaintance of Scott's, and she had been in attendance at the funeral. I didn't know her well, but always found her to be pleasant and cheerful. Earlier this year, I needed temporary accommodation, and she offered me to rent a room with her, which I gladly accepted while I was looking for somewhere else to live. Whilst living there, she would tell me of her story. She and Scott had never been in a relationship. Yep. They had dated briefly in 1989 and had remained friends, but were not close at all when he died. He was married and had children of his own. She told me that she had felt compelled to go to the place where he had taken his life, and so she did. It was a very cold, frosty day, and she was talking aloud to him and saying, "It's freezing, it's freezing. Why don't you come back with me?" And from that day, he did. She hears him in her head, and she says that he never stops talking. He wakes her every morning around 5 a.m. She says she knows she has been transported to a different ethereal plane when during her sleep. I was quite skeptical of all of this when she was telling me about it, but I did listen. Both her and Aaron are very accepting of the fact that they now share a home with this entity. He has his place on the sofa, and if they go out for dinner, there's a place at the table. He leaves her gifts of pennies and various other items that she finds on her days at work and he helps her navigate her way around. If she can't find where it is she's going, he will direct her. She gets messages, song lyrics, which she says is his way of communicating with her. And she also told me about, this is a hard one, spectrophilia. It's a thing. And apparently she does it. I won't go into detail, but I Googled it. And apparently it's quite common for ghosts to interact sexually with the living.
Wow.
Let me go on. She says she says she sees him like a ball of electricity on many of her photographs. There's a ball of colored light, which she is adamant is him. Also, when she is going to bed at night, she films the balls of flashing lights she films the balls of light flashing past the camera. They do look like dust, but it is clearly not dust. I don't know what it is, but it isn't dust. So basically, she has resigned herself to the fact that she is now in a long-term committed relationship with a ghost of a man she dated in 1989 and my ex-colleague. Bizarre.
Wow.
What's on that one, guys?
Some guys just can't give it up, right? They just they can't. Enough is not enough. Are you sure she's not dating her GPS? Like she's not dating Siri?
Well, yeah, Siri. She says though in all her photographs there's like a flash, and she believes that's him posing.
But can anyone else see that in the photographs, or is it just her that can see it?
It doesn't say that, but if she prints it and she could, well, I would imagine so, because her children are very excited of the fact that they live with an entity. So I would imagine they probably can see that, but I don't know for sure.
Now, did she not ever she does not have a new person in her life? So, I mean, what's going to happen when there's if she starts dating? What's this entity going to do, at that point? Is that polygamy? What is that?
Yeah, it's an open relationship. You, me, and my guy. I think that she sounds like she's pretty committed. Like, if someone were to come onto her, I believe she'd be like, "Oh no, I'm in a relationship."
In fact, he's right here, standing next to me.
Yeah. He's actually right behind me. He sleeps on
in fact, he's having sex with me right now in the bar.
And that's an interesting thing, is that he has a place on the sofa. But if they're doing it, what is the word that it's called?
Spectrophilia?
Yeah, spectrophilia. Why is he on the sofa? I mean,
what do you mean?
She has kids in the house. They should be up in the room.
Yeah, I don't think we have laws. We don't have laws to cover a lot of this.
Yeah, but I do know people who have sworn they have had sex with entities when they're in the astral level sleeping at night, that they full on have sex with entities. And this one girl in particular I'm speaking about says it's like the best sex she's ever had. It's in her dreams.
Wow. Maybe, yeah. Do they have profiles on Tinder?
Wouldn't that be hilarious? Ooh, could you imagine going to Tinder and be like, back to my lady. So she gets on Tinder because she needs a little more. And she's like, open relationship with an entity from 1989. I'll bet you
that if you went on Tinder, that's on there.
I bet.
That thing that you just made up, I bet it already exists.
I bet. Yeah, and I bet those people will find I can't find any guys to date, but those people who have sex with entities who are in open relationships will find the love of their life.
Well, maybe you need to broaden your horizons there. Maybe you need to open up your dating pool there, Tammie, and start to include, not just the living,
I wonder if there's a gap in the market, like someone's made a dating service just for that kind of thing.
We gotta get online and see.
That's an app. I smell it.
Yeah, I think we got something going. If it doesn't exist, let's do it
What is it called?
right now.
Spectral
Spectrophilia.
Would the app be called Specto or something?
Yeah, like yeah.
Would we do Ghost Spectra, like Ghost Spectra or something?
Well, that's for like Spectre means ghost, right? So
does it? Okay. Goophilia or go.
So this was sent by Laura Stewart. When I was 4 years old, I moved to Wales from Hereford, England, with my family into a big old house. My parents still live there now. Shortly afterwards, I started seeing a little girl. Her name was Nellie, and she was 5 years old. She had auburn ringlets, freckles, and she wore a white frilly dress and frilly pulled-up socks, a bit like a communion outfit. It certainly wasn't modern dress wear. She was quite naughty. She would play with my dolls and with me in my bedroom. I was a good girl and always tidied up my toys at the end of the day. But in the morning, they'd be all over the room and my mum would tell me off for playing in the middle of the night. Nellie was quite bossy, and even at the tender age of 4, I realised she was trouble. I was getting told off all the time for things I hadn't done, like scratching off the wallpaper with my nails in the bathroom. It wasn't me. She was scary sometimes too. Half her face would turn black like she was a shadow. I'm thinking of
I know, I can't even feel it. Oh my gosh. Glad we're doing this in the morning.
My parents thought she was my imaginary friend. It was common at that age, and especially after a big life event like moving house. I had no friends yet, and my brothers were so much older than me that I had no one to play with. My oldest brother went off to uni too, so I had lost one of the few people close to me. But one day, I remember it clearly, she sat atop my cabin bed, grinning. She had trashed my room again. I was afraid of being told off again. I was a little older by now, around 5 or 6. I was annoyed, and I shouted at her that I didn't want to be her friend anymore, and I just wanted her to be gone. She dropped her smile. Her whole face turned dark, and her features started to disappear. And with that, she was gone. I never saw her again. Many, many years later, when I was in my mid-20s, my family all met up in Manchester for my father's 60th birthday celebrations. For some reason, we all ended up talking about Nellie. As I described her again to the people around the dinner table, I noticed my eldest brother's face turn white. He had seen her too, exactly like I described her, but standing at the top of the stairs, not just once, but 3 times. He hadn't really been around during that time as he was away at uni, so didn't know about my friend. Needless to say, we were all a bit freaked out by the fact that Nellie was perhaps not quite imaginary after all. When my mother got home, she did some research on the house. It was built in 1905, but prior to that, the cellar was a cottage. The rest of the house was built on top of it. The cottage had been there since the 1850s. My mother discovered many past occupants, in particular, a little girl named Nellie Evans, who died of tuberculosis, aged 5, in 1903. Was this the little girl I'd been playing with? We will never know for sure, of course, but there was absolutely no way I could have known about her, and the name Nellie was not common in the 1980s, nor was her clothing, especially to a 4-year-old. She has not been seen again in my parents' house since the day I told her to go away, and that actually makes me a little sad. I hope wherever she is at peace now.
Oh my God, okay, I love that story. I love it on so many different levels. First off, I know Stewart, and I wonder if it's the same person because she is from the UK.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Thank you, Laura, for that. And also just thank you for the other contributors again that sent in stories, because they've all been pretty strange stuff. We've had one from Lindsay, Laura, as we just mentioned, Brian, Jeannie, and Jean. So thank you so much for sending those in.
Thank you.
And I have heard that if you tell an entity to go, they have to go. like if you're like, I wish I would have said this earlier with John when, so he could tell his daughter, like if an entity comes and they are doing something, if you say you have to go, leave, they have to go.
Yeah.
Really? Is there any particular reason for that?
But I've never had a bad entity. Like I've had dreams with ghosts, spirit. Like I don't know what I've had, but like everything has always been kind, so I don't know. But a friend of mine told me that if you ever are having a bad dream or something, you just tell the entity to go and they have to go.
I should have said that to Bob then. I wouldn't have had to have punched him.
Exactly.
Yeah, get out of here.
You're not going to win.
But that was quite a punch. Yeah. Can you imagine? That's in the bloopers, the outtakes. Go.
Yeah. Get out of here.
What do I
Get out of here.
I apologize now to Romania, Japan, Mexico, China, and if we get to Scandinavia, yours is the hardest. Apologies. So if you guys do get mad at me, don't be mean in the comments, right? Nice, be cool. Just be cool. You could say, Tammie, you really need to learn how to speak in Romania, and I'll be like, okay, I'll work on that, but don't be cruel to me, okay? Okay.
That's it, yeah.
All right, so let's get it started.
This is ghost names and meanings from around the world with Tammie Baird.
So this one is from Strigoi, Romania. In the same supernatural as the vampire, Strigoi are the ghosts of people who lived or died under unhappy circumstances, suicides, the illegitimate, the unbaptized, and, single people, the unmarried. With red hair and bluish purple eyes, Strigoi live on human blood. Burying a body with a bottle of whiskey is said to prevent a loved one from returning as Strigoi. Likely origin, vampire-like creatures have featured in folklore dating back as far as Mesopotamian civilizations. But modern vampire myths are likely a mismatch of Christian symbolism, holy wood, a dead man rising from the grave, etc., and pre-science efforts to understand medical phenomena. Did I say all those words right?
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting is that to bury a body with a bottle of whiskey is said to prevent a loved one from returning as a Strigoi because, some people who drink a lot of booze tend to get purpley veins and stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of interesting too. But I'll take a bottle of whiskey when I go.
That would be, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I could have a mixer with it or something, so I don't like it straight like that. Yeah.
Nice. I want to be cremated. So maybe I'll put in my will or my thing that everybody show up with some booze and my ashes will be saturated. Will what's that word called when you marinate fruit in vodka?
Yeah,
I want that done to my
marinade, or I think it's marinating, isn't it?
Yeah, I think marinade is the word. I want to be marinated in booze. And then if you guys want, you guys can all take shots and drink me. I don't care.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. That's weird. And my family would be like, are you sure she said this? Like, no, we got it. We got proof. All right. So this one's a hard one. This one's from Japan. And I believe it's pronounced Kuchisaka Ana, the slit-mouthed woman of Japan. Kukisaki Ana illustrations. This supremely creepy Japanese ghost is a beautiful woman in a surgical mask, which is commonly worn by cold or allergy sufferers in many parts of Asia. She approaches the victims at a remote train or bus station at night, and she asks, "Am I beautiful?" If the victim says yes, she removes the mask, revealing a gaping, Joker, bloody smile. If the victim says no, she pulls out a butcher's knife and slashes the victim's face like her own. Though the legend is ancient, Kukisaki Anna had a revival in the 1970s when scores of school children in Nagasawa Prefecture began posting sightings, causing police to believe there was a female psychopath on the loose. Likely origin, Kukisaki Anna story may have originated in feudal Japan as a cautionary tale about infidelity. According to the legend, a samurai's concubine cheated on him, and she was punished by having her mouth sliced open. Modern versions of the story imagine a samurai as a jealous and abusive husband.
That was an interesting one, yeah. And so the origins of that. So they all have kind of like these mythological things that stories stem from over the years as to why, it filters, doesn't it? And things change a wee bit from the old stories, as you go along. About the reason behind how she had that smile when she was cut, and
it's beautiful. It might have been her most beautiful feature, and that's why he said it. Or if indeed it was because of a jealous, abusive husband, let's say, and that way nobody could ever kiss her mouth again. Or when she asked him,
there's a sadness to it as well. Yeah, it's quite tragic.
Because I could just picture this beautiful Japanese woman with these beautiful features. I think Japanese women are so gorgeous. And just to not see her mouth and just to have those beautiful eyes looking at you saying, am I beautiful? And then that reveal. And would she still be beautiful if someone truly loved her or no? And then she's like, you're just like me.
Yeah.
But then if she does that, why should she slash somebody else because of her infidelity if that's actually how it happened? So a lot to think about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Shall we go to Mexico?
Let's go to Mexico, yeah. We're traveling around here.
Exactly. Okay. So I'm going to say this probably incorrectly, but La Llorona, Mexico. All right. Mexico's version of Susan Smith. I just hate hearing that name because I remember when that Susan Smith murder happened. That one really tore me apart. Okay. Mexico's version of Susan Smith, the weeping woman, was said to be a villager named Maria who drowned her own children in a river in order to be with the man she loved. When he rejected her, she drowned herself. Now she haunts the riverbanks, dressed in white and weeping for her children. Sometimes she'll try to kidnap living children and as replacements. So Mexican kids are warned not to go out alone at night, or La Llorona will snatch them away. Oh, and then if she snatches you away, she'll drown you like she did her own children.
Yes.
More than likely.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so that is a good tell. Teenagers, don't sneak out at night. Yeah. Kids, stay in your bed. But that one's...
It reminds you, it's sort of like the old stories like you hear when you were a kid. You say, if you stay up too late, the boogeyman's going to get you or something. You hear these things that...
Yeah.
It's weird that parents would actually strike more terror into you like that. It's sort of strange psychology, really.
Terrifying. I don't know if this is on here or not, but just kind of back to how they said La Llorona looked, she was dressed in white, weeping for her children at the riverbanks. I remember as a child being in a car and we'd be around water, any body of water if we were driving. And I don't remember exactly who, but would say, don't look behind you, or if you see a ghost, a woman floating in white behind you, she's looking for her lost children who I think they did say drowned, but we were like terrified, like she could get in our car, so we have to drive fast. I don't remember how it happened, but it was terrorizing. And I still think about that. Like, I don't want this beautiful woman floating in white, coming towards us looking for her children. Oh, it terrorized me. Like as a kid, I was like, oh no, why are we driving at night? Super scary.
Yeah, That's scary stuff.
Yeah, it's traumatizing. Traumatizing. I'd be like, you're paying for my therapy. All right, let's go to China.
Oh, yeah.
I think I might say this one correctly. Jiangxi, China. Sometimes called Chinese hopping vampires. These ghastly creatures blur the lines between ghosts and zombies, the spirits of people who died by suicide or violence. Jiangxi, meaning stiff corpse, have greenish skin, wear robes of the Qing dynasty, Qing, Qing dynasty, and move by hopping or bouncing. They feed off of the life essence of living humans, though more modern legends describe them as sucking blood, likely due to the influence of Western vampire myths. Likely origin, the Jiangxi legend may have come from pre-modern Chinese practice of corpse transport, in which the body of someone who died far from home would be transported back for burial. Corpses were attached vertically to 2 bamboo poles for transport, which made them appear to hop when carried from the Qing dynasty. Robes of the Jiangxi in popular culture may stem from the anti-Qing sentiment rampant during these early days of Chinese movie making, when the Jiangxi was seared into the popular imagination. So again, I apologize for any words that I did not say correctly, but whoa, what a story. Isn't that amazing?
Wow, yeah.
To be on 2 sticks being transported, that makes sense with the bouncing. And depending on who saw this, like if you were a little child at night and you saw a dead corpse, and you know how like when you die, all the blood leaves your body, so everything gets gone and stuff, that would be terrifying.
So I mean, it's interesting how it sort of goes into into like our psyche, how we interpret something,
When I was reading that just now, I was like, okay, I'm kind of scared.
Yeah, it is kind of strange anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, but my little childlike imagination, just like I could see that. That would be terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. So this is the hardest one. It's from Scandinavia, and I believe the word is pronounced Zhangir, Scandinavia. G-A-N-D. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
These grouchy Nordic spirits kill via a pinch, usually delivered at night. The pinched skin will turn blue and cause a wasting disease, which will eventually travel to the victim's heart. Unlike most ghosts, Jinjangir look more or less like normal living people, which makes them difficult to spot. So keep your wits about you the next time you're testing beds at IKEA. Likely origin, Jinjangir myths were likely Viking in origin and may have to do with fears of the plague. Can you imagine at night something just pinching you? If you're from Scandinavia, that had to be traumatic. And if you had siblings, your little brother, older brother, sister sneaks in, crawls in, and pinches you and climbs under the bed.
Oh, that was scary. That was scary.
Yeah. And as a parent, be like, stop pinching your brother or sister. And then heaven forbid something happens and you're just like,
saying that wasn't me that was pinching you. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, God,
very scary. And that is probably one of the hardest words I've ever looked at.
Sorry we were no help in translating them for you.
Very hard. But I think the stories are great, because I always wonder where all these stories come from. Like earlier, we had talked about being afraid of the dark. You know, John was saying his daughter's still afraid of the dark. Well, I cannot walk into a bathroom with the lights off. I freak out because they said, if you say, I'm going to say it once, that's how superstitious I am. If you say Bloody Mary and look at the mirror in the dark, she'll appear and I guess eat your soul or kill you. I don't know. I don't think you walk out of the bathroom. And as a kid, I was like, no. So to this day, I have to turn the light switch on first and then walk in. Otherwise, I'll just hold it. I'm not going to go pee.
At night, I can't sleep without having a light on in the hall, so I can see a light coming through. I can't sleep in complete darkness.
Interesting. Yeah. Do you know why?
Since childhood, it's just that fear is that sort of irrational fear has always stayed with me. Really, I can't shake it off. It's really strange.
It is.
It's some light coming in, into the room.
Let us know.
Just to give you an idea, the next show we're doing is about Bigfoot. So it might be a bit harder getting people to tell stories about that, although I don't know. I mean, people are from all over the States. That's where it seems to be commonplace.
There's so many sightings of Bigfoot. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Especially in the Pacific Northwest and in Canada as well. There's constant stories coming out of there. So if any of you guys did have an experience of Bigfoot or something that just felt strange in the woods, even if you didn't see one, but you felt something or heard something, then please send them in to us. That would be great.
So, yeah.
You've done great. You've done great.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on today. This has been awesome. I love all our different personalities together, Christophe and John and Jake, you and me. It's been really a great day today, for sure.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Tam. It's been a pleasure actually having you all here for my first show. I'm really grateful. It's really been a blast, So hopefully, if you guys have got anything, please send them to. I'm sure many of you listening will know will probably friends of us anyway on here. So please send us your stories. On Facebook. We'd love to hear from you. And thank you very much for listening, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back with Bigfoot. It'd be great. Thank you so much. Take care.
All right. Bye.